It's raining threes. One Pioneer basketball player shot lights out this past week, but was it enough to propel the team to a win?
Goals, goals, and more goals. Find out which Penguin players lit it up on the ice Saturday night in San Jose for the All-Star Game.
And welcome aboard. Later in the show, we'll sit down for an exclusive interview with the new athletic director here at Point Park University. Now it's time to come on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to the Pioneer Sideline. I'm Mike Turk.
And I'm Allison Schubert. There was a lot happening in Pioneer sports over the past week, but tonight we'll start off talking basketball as both teams had a couple of big River States Conference home games recently.
The women's team squared off against Asbury on Thursday and Alice Lloyd on Saturday. To tell us how those games went, we welcome in Lindsay Carson. For more, now Lindsay, I'm just going to start off really easily. How did those two games go for the team?
I mean, they went really well. The team played, they played their heart out. Michelle Burns had a big game on Thursday. She set the new school record, and she's now the RSC WBB Player of the Week, so that's really good for her. And Sam Weir returned on Saturday, and she was shooting threes like it was nothing.
So Sam Weir, again, you said she came back on Saturday. How big is that for this team?
Well, it was huge. You could see the momentum change every time she made a big play. The whole team, they just got better.
Now it's coming to the end of January here. February starts up, which means River States Conference tournament time. Right now, the Pioneers on the outside looking in. How big are these games coming up for this team, especially tonight when they play a River States opponent like Carlo?
Oh, it's huge. They're trying to climb up the rankings and get in a playoff spot, so they really have to win these next few games.
Oh, thank you, Lindsay. Now, the men's team has been struggling on the road this season, so they were relieved to finally be back at CCAC Allegheny this past week.
The men have only picked up one win in the month of January. Were they able to get back on track at home this week? For more on the team, we bring in Colton Tobias. So, Colton, Asbury and Alice Lloyd this past weekend, how did the games go?
Well, they were pretty evenly matched, Allison. The Pioneers did unfortunately suffer a 63-60 loss against Asbury in a pretty back and forth game. Now the Pioneers were down a lot throughout the game, but the one thing that I love about this Pioneers team is that they never coming all the way back to tie it late, but it just wasn't enough as Asbury went ahead and a last-second foul to end the game with a heartbreaker for the Pioneers, but they were able to get back on track on Saturday against Alice Lloyd. I was on the call for that game. It was a very exciting game, 81-73 the score, with the Pioneers getting the victory and getting back on track as they are now trying to push for the River States playoffs as well.
Now, Asbury came into that game against Point Park averaging just under 90 points per game. Pioneers able to hold them to 66. This isn't the first time we've seen this season. What do you think has been the recipe to that successful defense? But it seems like when they hold a team low, the offense struggles as well.
Well, Turk, I just think that this defense has been able to play a really good, especially up at the three-point line, getting turnovers, and also playing terrific down low in the paint, and also forcing teams like Asbury to miss some pivotal shots down the stretch. Yeah, but a problem that the Pioneers have had for most of the season is trying to turn defense into offense. Now this isn't the case for every game, but this has been a problem that the Pioneers have had all season.
Well, thanks, Colton. The track team traveled to Geneva, Ohio for the Spire Midwest Open this past weekend for a two-day meet.
Which Pioneers stood out on the men's and women's side on Friday and Saturday? Oh, that's why we have Nick Kosiski here tonight to tell you more. Nick, it's good to have you back, buddy.
Feels great to be back.
How'd those races go this weekend?
They went fantastic. A lot happened. Now there is 6 people going to nationals, 3 of them being freshmen. I mean, it's crazy.
Now, I have a question. Why is there no team score recorded for these races? And are we going to see a team score coming up?
That's a good question. I'm guessing we'll probably see one come up. I mean, I hope so, because I like to look at the team score, you know. So, I mean, I guess we're got to just see what happens.
Now, did you ever go to Youngstown State when you were on the team with them during the indoor track season?
The good old days. We're bringing up my past here. Oh man. Yeah, I did, and I like it. It's good track, 300 meters, and yeah, Youngstown State. It's a good place. I know every time I would go, I would PR. So, you know.
Was that River State's
so
conference?
good?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
It sounds pretty good though.
Oh yeah.
Good track? Okay.
Great track.
You got the River State's conference tournament coming up soon. What can we expect coming from that? Are we going to hear some more of the same, like Anna Shields and Xavier Stevens, or is there somebody who could potentially steal the show?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're definitely going to hear everyone we already been hearing about, because everyone so far here going to nationals have been constantly improving. But we're definitely going to, I think, hear some new names. I think everyone, you know, is kicking it in right now. So I definitely, going with my gut, I think it's going to be a great meet.
Thanks, Nick. When we come back, we'll sit down with Point Park's John Ashaolu to discuss how his first semester went here as the director of Pioneer Athletics.
And later we'll talk about how the NHL All-Star Game went this past weekend for a couple of guys representing the black and gold. Stay tuned for more.
All right, we're ready.
Oh, no. You are right here.
Is the win really necessary, guys? We need the win. Okay.
You go change. Awful. You. That's awful.
Okay, I need someone to make me laugh.
Where's Wyatt? Wyatt's always late, duh.
I'm here. Jealous?
Get out of my way. Stop.
Cool. Okay. And now we're smiling like
A lot of noise going on.
the background.
3, 2, 1.
Here at the Pioneer Sideline.
We covered the real sports.
On another season, the Penguins are just getting started with the regular season this week.
Pioneer Sideline.
The show that starts your Friday mornings has returned with both familiar and new faces. Daybreak host Taylor Fife and Delaney Bomas are bringing you the latest updates in Pittsburgh and Point Park news. We also have a variety of talent on our free segments. Whether it be singing, dancing, or indeed egg smashing. Start your mornings with us at Daybreak on UView at UView Television.
Welcome back. At the end of last school year, Dan Swalga announced he would be retiring as Point Park's athletic director after 12 years with the university. With Swalga gone, Point Park had to search for a new AD.
After many applicants and potential candidates, Point Park found their guy in John Ashaolu, who is with us tonight. John, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll start off with the beginning of things. In your first few months, what challenges were there? What did you have to go through?
Just trying to remember my coaches' names, trying to figure out where the buildings were, because where we're situated downtown, you know, I had a hard time getting here today, figuring out where the library was. I actually walked by, I was like, wait, did I pass it yet? And I was like, so, you know, just those little things, you know, figuring out where I'm going to be parking at, just the logistics of the campus, getting assimilated to the campus and know who my coaches are, their emails, getting their phone numbers, just diving right in, trying to figure all that stuff out. Those are the hard things at first.
Now, you were working at CCAC prior to coming to Point Park. What was that transition like, switching from CCAC over to Point Park University athletics?
Well, it's something that I've been working towards doing, moving towards the 4-year school. I started my plight as an athletic director at the high school level. And, when I started that way back 8 years ago, my goal was to get to a 4-year school. So just kind of working my way up the ladder. And CCAC was great. So was Community College of Beaver County. It was a great experience too, just kind of being able to jump right in and being able to do a lot of different things, having a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things, and just setting myself up to get to a 4-year school where now, I have a staff of full-time coaches that I see every single day I work with, and I speak to like 24 hours a day. Having scholarship athletes, at CCBC, Community College Beaver County, I had a little bit. Some of our sports were scholarships, some of our sport weren't. But here, all of our sports are scholarship athletes. You're dealing with a high-level caliber of student and a high-level caliber of athlete at Point Park. So, it was things that I welcomed, things that I was working towards and I looked forward to doing. So it was well received and much received. So.
In that 4-year hunt, or in the 4-year school hunt, why Point Park? What made you apply here?
Well, it just seemed like the very next step, It was a place that was starting to grow as far as the athletic program. It wasn't somewhere where I had to go in and kind of recreate everything. Dan Swagger did a great job of building up the athletic program. When you look at things such as facilities, I think like 5-6 years ago, a lot of the facilities that we play at were so far away. He's done a really good job in his tenure here to bring it close to the home. So where we kind of have almost like a college feel here, where our students can get to games at CCAC. It's like a 4-minute drive. I've timed it many times. It's a 4-minute drive to CCAC, or you can get on the T and get there very quickly. Our baseball team's playing closer to campus. Our softball team's playing close. So, just looking at that, looking at the growth of the school. It's one of the, if you look at higher education, a lot of schools are struggling with enrollment, but this is one of the few schools in the area that has actually grown exponentially the last 5-6 years. So when you're looking at all of that and you're looking at, somewhere where you can get in and still, not recreate everything, but make a little bit of improvements here and there, Point Park was it when I was looking for a place to move to a 4-year school.
Now, you've had a lot of different jobs over the years. Just looking at your resume, basketball operations at East Carolina, assistant director of basketball at Duquesne, and assistant coach at Community College in Texas for a while as well. But when on your schedule did you think, I want to be an athletic director?
Well, when I was an undergrad, I always knew, because I was a student athlete, I always knew I wanted to work in sports. I still took a little bit of notes, and I was real close to my coaches and the athletic director, just the athletic staff, just keeping an eye on what they did, because I knew that's eventually what I wanted to do, because I figured that if I worked in sports, it wouldn't really be working. I just kind of can continue doing what I was doing as an undergrad, because I'm a big sports fanatic. So I figured that the easiest way to get into it was to get into coaching, because I was just playing and I had a lot of contacts with coaches that recruited me when I was in high school and things of that nature. So it was just easy to get in that way, just to start building up my resume on the sports side and the athletic side. So after a couple of years there, and then when I finally got my master's, when I was at Duquesne University on the men's basketball staff, I was working on my master's at the same time. And I was doing that just to say, hey, I need to get my master's to be an athletic director. So I think after I finished my master's at Duquesne University was when I was like, okay, let's start transitioning a little bit to the administration side. I have the athletic coaching side, which is a big deal when you want to be an athletic director. You want to be able to say you've been in the shoes of your coaches. You want to say you did that before at the college level. So once I got a couple of years of that experience and then I got my master's in sports leadership, I was like, okay, time to start transitioning to the athletic administration side. So I have to say that's when it was.
Now, also on that resume was working at Seton LaSalle, and you mentioned the differences between CCAC and Point Park. What are the differences working in high school sports and collegiate sports?
Oh man, the big difference would have to be parents. Parents are so much more involved at the high school level, but I appreciated that because it gave me a chance to kind of deal with those situations and deal with those problems. Not to say that parents are not involved at the university level, the college level. There are still a little bit, but not as much as the high school level. But it gave me a chance to kind of, deal with those problems and be able to solve those kind of problems. But working at high school level was really good for me. I mean, like I said, that was my first job where my title was Director of Athletics. So, again, helped me to deal with different problems, different situations. And, at Seton LaSalle, helped me out a lot, helped me put me on the path where I was marketable to go from there to the community college of Beaver County and to CCAC and then now here. So it was really cool. You know, a lot of similarities, a lot of stuff that are very different. You know, actually the one very similar aspect of it when I look at Point Park and working at Sideline is Sideline didn't have a lot of facilities. I mean, they played their football. I mean, in a span of one football season, we played at 4 different fields because we didn't have our own football. We didn't have our own football stadium. So, over here at CCAC, we don't have a lot of our own facilities. So that's one similarity where, like, when I took this job, I was like, well, I've dealt with that before. I've dealt with not having my own facilities before. We've had to kind of think outside the box and work with different other schools and things like that to be able to create that atmosphere. So, like I said, there's some similarities and some differences, but it helped me put me on my plight to where I am today.
Well, John, thank you for coming on tonight. We really appreciate your time, and we're happy to have you on board here at Point Park University.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, when we come back, find out which NBA player can't be stopped as he continues to break records and chase history.
And later, our reporters will give their second half NHL predictions. We'll be right back.
I know just the trick. Bippity, boppity, boop! Much better. Guys, Samir Nesby, and I'm outside of the Benedum Center right now. So in just a few moments, we're going to go inside the Benedum Center to talk to Trevor Dion Nicholas, who plays the genie in Disney's Aladdin. I'm Samir Nesby giving you the theatrical scoop for the Berg. Hey guys, so I'm now inside the Benedum Center with Trevor Dion Nicholas, who plays the genie in Disney's Aladdin.
Welcome back. While the Steelers did not make it to the postseason this year, a couple of players had the chance to play in the Pro Bowl this past Sunday in Orlando.
And in hockey news, a couple of Penguin players stood out at the All-Star game on Saturday night. For more details on how the Pittsburgh players did on the ice and on the grass, we welcome in Brooke Stick for more.
There were a lot of exciting sporting events that took place this past weekend for Pittsburgh teams. First, this past Saturday, Penguin Sidney Crosby earned MVP in the NHL All-Star Game. Crosby also led the team to the All-Star Game title by having 2 goals and 3 assists, followed by Henrik Lundqvist's first half shutout to lead the Metropolitan Division to a 10-5 victory over Central Division in the championship round. Chris Letang, the other Penguins representative in the game, also had 2 goals and 3 assists on the night. Crosby is the 4th Penguins player to be named All-Star MVP. The Penguins will be facing Tampa Bay Lightning tomorrow at PPG Paints Arena with the puck dropping at 8 p.m. This past Sunday, we also had some Pittsburgh Steelers representatives play in the NFL Pro Bowl game. Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster left the game with a bruised knee, but the injury was not considered serious. Smith-Schuster had 1 catch for 16 yards in the game, while teammate James Conner ran 6 times for 11 yards, and Cam Hayward had 1.5 sacks and tied for the team lead with 6 tackles. The AFC game came out with the win, 26-7 to the NFC. Speaking of the Steelers, wide receiver Antonio Brown spiced up some drama this past weekend by sharing an Instagram post of him in a San Francisco 49ers jersey. Brown still hasn't closed his doors with the Steelers, but if Brown were to get traded, it wouldn't happen anytime soon. The Steelers would carry $21.1 million of Brown's salary and dead cap if they trade him before June 1st. This date is long ways away, leaving plenty of time for fences to be mended and healing to happen. This story isn't going away anytime soon.
Hey, well, thanks, Brooke, for that report. Now, the NBA is not one that's talked about too often around here, Allison, and it makes me a little disappointed. I love the NBA, but nobody ever covers it.
I can't say I agree.
But tonight, finally, we have somebody who will be covering it in his report. Jeff Dockham in studio for some national news.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Allison. NHL All-Star Weekend wrapped up Saturday night in San Jose, and this year showcased quite the historic moment. after Central Division captain Nathan McKinnon pulled out from the fastest skater event due to a bruised foot. Him and his team invited Kendall Coyne Schofield to take his place. This decision paved the way for Schofield to become the first woman ever to compete in the NHL All-Star Skills Competition. The 5'2" forward and gold medalist for the U.S. women's national team posted an impressive time of 14.346 seconds. In the fastest skater event, she competed against some of the fastest players in the NHL, and afterwards she said, "Obviously, I was a little nervous, but I knew it was a moment that was going to break a lot of barriers and a moment that would change the perception of our game." Moving from the ice to the court, one player has captivated fans for almost 2 months with a historic scoring run. On January 14th, James Harden surpassed Kobe Bryant's streak of 16 consecutive 30-point games achieved in 2003. The reigning MVP has been an unstoppable scoring machine for the Houston Rockets, and according to NBA.com, Harden extended the streak of 30-point games to 23 after a 103-98 win over the Orlando Magic Sunday night. He's averaging 42.7 points during his streak and has led the Rockets to winning 17 of their last 23 games. Harden's 30-point scoring tear, is the fourth longest in NBA history. He's chasing only 3 longer streaks set by Wilt Chamberlain in the early 1960s. Harden won't be catching the all-time record anytime soon, though, because the Hall of Fame center holds the record with 65 consecutive games of 30 points or more. More records are being broken in the NBA this week as Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr earns his 300th career regular season coaching victory after defeating the Boston Celtics Saturday night. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, Kerr reached the 300 milestone win in the fewest amount of games in professional sports history. He did it in only 377 games as head coach. Kerr topped the previous record held by Pat Riley, who earned his 300th career win in his 416th game as head coach.
Thanks, Jeff. When we return, our reporters will give their second half predictions for the NHL.
Who do they think will turn it on this second half of the NHL season and potentially raise the cup in June? We'll find out after the break.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts, and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Welcome back. The NHL All-Star Game was held in San Jose this past weekend, and as all of us Pittsburghers saw, the Penguins owned the show.
Yes, they did, Allison, but will they own the show in the second half of the season? To debate this topic for Case of the Week tonight, we welcome in R.J. Garrison, Taylor Spirito, and Ray Hazenstab. Now, guys, I just want to get your opinions on that All-Star Game the other night. Is that something we can look forward to from the Penguins in the second half?
That All-Star Game is definitely something that we can build off of. We saw arguably our best defenseman and obviously the best player in general just take over and dominate the entire game. Crosby winning his first MVP as an All-Star ever, showing that he truly is an All-Star amongst All-Stars. And if they can continue that and make everyone else around them on the team better, hey, we are going up in the standings for sure. We're not holding on to a wild card as far as I see.
But you got to think with that game against the Devils, what was it, last night, where they got completely destroyed? I mean, that's not exactly off to the best start, if I, do say so.
Yeah, but sometimes slow starts after the All-Star break won't really matter. It depends what they do in the long run, because now's the time they look and see what do they need And what don't they need at the trade deadline?
There's a big game coming up tomorrow against the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning have been tearing it up so far the first half of the season. Do you think how they play against the Lightning is going to kind of be a preview of the rest of the season?
It's definitely a measuring stick for them to see how good they can actually be against the top teams in the East and West in general. Tampa is up in one of the best, arguably having the best season they've had in a while. And if they can go out and play well against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the rest of the team might want to look out. Not just from Tampa, but the entire league. Pittsburgh is coming back then.
Well, even like you said, Tampa's having one of their best seasons that they've had in a very long time, and Tampa is always one of the top contenders, if not the top contender. So if they can, beat them, or even just get an overtime loss, even get some points on the board, it doesn't have to necessarily be a win on the score sheet to have a win against Tampa.
I don't really see it as that much right now because, again, we're coming back from the All-Star break. There's still a couple of holes to fill, and we're facing a team that's near unbeatable in this regular season. But this is the regular season, and the Lightning have unfortunately not done too well the past couple postseasons.
Now, all right, guys, we'll switch gears off of the Penguins now. Let's get to your actual NHL predictions here. Are they the same they were earlier in the season when it first started, or has it changed the course for you, Ray? I know you're a little ready for this one, so go ahead. I'll let you go.
I've been eating a lot of crow about the Detroit Red Wings. I thought that they were going to be a decently organized team. They had all the pieces there, except maybe Jonathan Bernier, which I'm still thinking was a bad idea, but nothing, I mean nothing, has gone right for them this season. They've had injuries, they've had terrible play, they've had bad goaltending, they've had it all. And needless to say, it's been tough to watch the Red Wings play because of just how nothing has worked for them.
Yeah, see, I had San Jose taking it all last time. And they've been doing well. They have 100 points as of thus far, but they haven't been doing as well as everyone predicted, what with the acquisition of Erik Karlsson, having Joe Pavelski and Brent Burns and Joe Thornton. That's a huge core to have, but they just haven't been able to capitalize on it that well. I do stand by my Toronto Maple Leafs, not because I'm biased, but because they have John Tavares. They just acquired a defenseman, which they've been needing basically for nothing. So I do stand by them, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm feeling about San Jose still.
Yeah, Toronto's definitely bolstered up that defense, even though they needed a right-handed defenseman and got a left-handed defenseman.
We'll take what we can get.
But it's still an upgrade for what you have. Ron Hainsey, he might be a good defenseman, but he's not a first-line defenseman very much. And Florida's actually kind of surprised me. I had them as a dark horse. They just haven't seemed to gel the way they did the past few seasons. Montreal being up there in the top of the Atlantic, that's a huge shock for me. And another shock, the LA Kings. How have they been this bad? Just like Detroit, nothing seems to have gone right for them at all this season, even a glimmer of hope for that team, which is unfortunate.
But there is something that I wanted to note, RJ, about the Florida Panthers. They were in a very similar spot last year, being at the very bottom of the division, but then they went on an epic tear through the second half and just missed the playoffs by this many points. I think this is the team that can do it again, especially now that they have Mike Hoffman and Roberto Luongo, who should never be underestimated.
Well, the Panthers fans are hoping you're right on that.
So am I.
Now, here on the Pioneer Sideline, we love to make bold predictions. Nick Kosiski with the big 16-1 upset. Any bold predictions for the rest of the season?
Ooh.
I think, again, my bold prediction is that the Panthers go on another epic hot stretch. I have faith that Bobby Lou can help lead this team.
Okay. So I know that we're Pittsburgh, and I know that we hate Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has been doing really well as of lately, especially calling up Carter Hart. He has the highest save percentage in the second half of the season so far. Not saying much because of the All-Star break, but still, for a rookie to have that high of a save percentage, hockey teams always fall back on their goalies' last line of defense. They have a great goalie like him. I really could see them not exactly making the playoffs, but still, impressing in the second half.
Yeah. Philly could definitely make a run. But how about having the Islanders just completely fall apart and drop down to a wild card from being first in the Metro? that would be that'd be something that I'd personally love to see, just as a little bit of a twist in the arm, just saying you're not that good yet.
Guys, thank you for coming on for this Case of the Week. Now, that's all the time we have for this week. Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time.
The same Pioneer channel.
And, of course, the same Pioneer sideline.